I don't actually know how many people have trickled in at the moment. So if anyone can signpost me as to when to introduce our introductory speaker, that would be great.
You're good to go.
Good to go. Okay. So again, welcome everyone to our Black History Season event. My name is Swiss. This is a Black Entrepreneurs event and welcome you all. At the moment, as you can see in the background, I'm in the stock room of our store in Westfield. So, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's a really great achievement for myself and my movement and my brand and my team to have opened a store in Westfield. I'm feeling really great about it. But that's enough about me. Right now, I'm going to introduce Sabrina Francis, the first Black female mayor of Camden, and she's going to share a few words with you. Take it away, Sabrina.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. I am the Mayor of Camden and I am really happy to be here. Here in Camden, we don't just celebrate Black History for a month, we do it for a whole season. So I'm delighted that we have got a range of events and activities going on until December. It was really a great honour to be part of the launch of our Black History season last week. And I know that we've got lots of interesting events coming up. And the hope of the whole season is that it kind of inspires a sense of belonging in our Black residents. But bringing it back to tonight, we're obviously here to talk about entrepreneurship, Black Pound Day, and to hear from business owners. We know that Black owned businesses were disproportionately impacted by COVID and they were less likely to get the help they needed. So last year as a council, we were proud to partner with Black Pound Day and also focus on how we could help young aspiring entrepreneurs make sure they have the skills they need to grow their businesses. And as well as partnering with Black Pound Day, Camden works closely with the Rebel Business School. And I've met some of the local entrepreneurs that Rebel have helped, and they are really incredibly useful to people that don't have a way to raise startup funds or have a formal business plan. Supporting Black-owned businesses is something that's really close to my heart. I've personally chosen to be intentional about my choices, about what I wear to full council, which is our big meeting that happens kind of once every 6 weeks. And I've chosen to try and highlight a Black-owned business at every session. So far I've spotlighted Ohima Jewellery, yeah, these earrings, and Knots UK. So I wore one of Sandra's lovely head wraps on Monday at that big meeting. In Camden, we really want business to be as inclusive as possible. So this event and the work around it is an embodiment of our values. We're always trying to improve the borough, and our renewal commission that is looking at what the borough is like after COVID and what we want the borough to be like moving forward has two very relevant missions as part of its work. One of them is that by 2030, those holding positions of power in Camden are as diverse as our community, and that we have a next generation ready to follow, which is something I really care about because I don't really enjoy being the first of anything. I want to know where the rest are coming. And also, secondly, by 2025, that every young person has access to economic opportunity that enables them to be safe and secure. So those are two things that we are really focused on, and this work forms part of that. I'm really hopeful that the topics we discuss tonight will inspire the next, Black Bill Gates in the making, and that everyone with a great idea will know where they can go next for support and advice. So without further ado, I'm kind of going to throw back to Swiss. He has introduced himself already, but I will reiterate that he was obviously a member of So Solid Crew and the founder of Black Pound Day. And that Black Pound Day is a really, really good solutions-based approach to helping businesses grow, because obviously it encourages everyone once a month to replace their usual purchases with stuff from a Black-owned business. So you can spend locally or online, but just try to focus on helping a Black business once a month. Over to you, Swiss.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabrina. So yes, my name is Swiss, again, the founder of Black Pound Day. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about Black Pound Day, how it started and what it's about. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Swiss.
Great. So Black Pound Day for me started after the death or the murder of George Floyd. I kind of got tired of, our community marching over several decades, and not to say there weren't any solution-based approaches to fight systemic racism. But I felt like it was a great opportunity at this moment after George Floyd's death to do something impactful that was long-term and sustainable for our community to walk into, as well as other communities to help us with, helping with our community. So Black Pound Day happens every first Saturday of the month, and it was a call to action for people to spend with Black businesses or seek out Black businesses and replace their normal spending habits with that of Black businesses. But when I announced it, people were kind of asking me, how do we connect with these Black businesses? What platform do we use? So after I announced it, which was the first one was 27th of June, I created a directory leading up to that day that people could engage with these businesses. And since then, we've evolved into a marketplace because everyone wants to shop out of convenience. So we created a marketplace, a one-stop shop where people can spend with Black businesses. And since then, we've partnered with Google to create a Black business map where you can find a Black business in your local area to make it easy for you to spend and engage with these Black businesses. And it's really going great. And as I said, right now, I'm in the stockroom of a pop-up shop that we have with Westfield that launched on the 2nd of October. And so Black Pound Day has now taken the life of its own. Businesses are benefiting from Black Pound Day. You have one business called Afrocentrics, which is a hair and skincare company. And Rachel, which is one of the founders, has said that because of Black Pound Day, as a result of Black Pound Day, they have grown their business to take on 2 employees. And also their subscribers have grown 15,000. There's another company called Illuminate Essentials that over the past year has seen their business grow to 400% in profits as a direct result of Black Pound Day. And so those are 2 case studies, 2 examples of the impact of Black Pound Day. And there's hundreds, and I'm sure thousands of more businesses that have been impacted by this beautiful initiative and movement. And so we are working with Camden to continue the work that we are doing and to help the entrepreneurs, young and old, within that borough. And yeah, I'm very proud of the work that I've done. Previous to that, obviously, as I said, I come from a music background, So Solid. A lot of people know the song 21 Seconds. That's one of our, flagship, I guess, songs that most people know. And for me as an entrepreneur, it's been beautiful to evolve and take the skills that I learned from the music business and transfer them into my entrepreneurial endeavors and that I'm going into now. So that's a bit of background about myself, a bit about Black Pound Day. And I hope that you do seek out to spend with Black businesses once a month or seek out and engage with these businesses on Black Pound Day, the first Saturday of every month, with the hopes that you would engage with these businesses throughout the year, because that's what it's all about, changing your consumer habits so that you would lean towards thinking about spending with a Black business as much as you do any other business. So I'm going to go through some house rules to kick off the introductory of our discussion and event. So the first part of this event is being recorded. So please mute your devices and turn off your videos if you do not wish to be recorded. Please mute while speakers are talking. Feel free to use the chat bar to make comments or ask questions. However, we encourage you to save questions for the Q&A session in the breakout rooms with business owners later. If you have any issues during the event, contact Emmanuel. Emmanuel will put his email in the chat right now. So if you have any issues, do contact Emmanuel. He will post his email in the video, in the chat, right now. Lastly, make the most of the sessions today. Enjoy. If you have a pen and paper, if you don't have a pen and paper, go and get one. Make sure you take notes. We're going to get some very valuable information today. And yes, so I'm going to next introduce the Rebel Business School.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Swiss. I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see what I'm sharing? Because I just lost.
Oh, yeah, we can see Halima. Thanks so much.
Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to kind of give you guys, I guess, my own house rules, like Rebel Business School house rules. I really do enjoy seeing faces while I'm presenting, so it's really important that I do see your face. If you don't mind me seeing your face and you don't mind getting recorded, like the others have said. And also the chat is there for you to communicate with me. So if you have any comments, if I ask you a question, I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to give you the first test, if you're there, to see if you're actually there. Are you there is the question. Give me a yes in the comments if you are there. Okay, I see that people are here. Okay, good. It's working, everybody. It's working. Amazing. Okay, so next question's a little bit more difficult. I just want to know what your business, what industry your business is in. So what is it that you do? Just type in a few sentences just to explain what your business is about. Love this. So good. So needed. Every single business here is so needed, especially when it comes to Black businesses. We don't have enough Black businesses out there. I was talking about this the other day, about how I go to the store, Boots or any other store, and there's just not enough products. Now there is. Maybe like a few years back, there would be no products for my hair. I have Afro hair, and so it just used to frustrate me that I couldn't go and buy a product that actually worked. So I'm looking at some people in the chat, like you have hair businesses. It is so needed. So well done to you. Okay, so I want to get started with who we are. So the Rebel Business School is a course. We provide courses for free, completely free, 2-week intensive courses covering from like starting the right business all the way to building your website and learning about social media. So it's really like the company that I'm working for, which is the Rebel Business School, really aligns with what I stand for as a person. They are there to do good, to help as many people as possible. And I remember the first time I joined the course, I was so confused because prior to that I spent thousands and thousands of pounds like on different courses online and spend a lot of money. And so when I went, I was like, why is this free? Like, I don't understand why it's free. And what Simon, the founder, said was, it is hard enough for business owners in general, but when it comes to people that are from different backgrounds, it's even harder to stand out, to sell, to become successful. And so he wanted to give access to anybody and provide them with a free education that's actually worthwhile. And so just a little bit of background of what the Rebel Business School stands for and who they are. And I'm just super proud to be working with them. Who am I? Okay, so my name's Halima. It's written there. I have a business which basically I teach English as a second language to women, specifically women all around the world. And I have an academy, and these women are women that tend to not be able to have the opportunity to study otherwise if it's in a mixed environment. So kind of opened up a need to help women, help women acquire the language. So I started my business a few years ago, and now I have built my social media following to up to like 20,000 now. So I've like experimented with everything, and today I just want to like focus on certain aspects that are, like the things that if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to do that so that I could see success a lot faster. So are you guys ready to see what I have to offer, like to teach you today? Remember, I said in the chat, you better respond. Okay, so I got a yep from Louise. Thanks, Louise. All right, guys, well done. You're still here. Okay, awesome. So let me get started with the very start when I first started my social media. So I was like, I created a social media and I said to myself, you know what would be awesome if I created something that didn't showcase some of my, let's say, where I'm from, my background. So I didn't tell people where I was from. I wore my scarf in a different way. So I would wear my scarf at the top there, like in a bun, so that at the time it was the environment wasn't great Muslims, and so I decided that I would just be incognito all the time and pretend I was someone else. It's saying my internet is unstable, so can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can hear you, Halima.
Okay, brilliant. It's been glitching. Okay, awesome. So I spent like a year pretending to be someone completely different, because I had this really strong idea that people didn't want to buy from me. Like people wouldn't trust me if they just looked at my face. They would say, oh, but why would I buy from this specific person? And this taught me a really big lesson, because at one point I remember like just making a decision saying, you know what, I'm just going to be my authentic self, because it is a lot easier to be yourself than to be anyone else. And so I decided to wear my scarf normally, and I lost a bunch of followers. I remember at the time I had like around, I think it was like 8,000, and my follow dropped 2,000 followers. Just completely, people stopped following me. And I just thought to myself, you know what, those are not my people. So from that day on, I decided to completely be myself when it came to being out there. Like either people like me or they don't. Like I'm not growing as fast as I would like, but that's not because I am pretending to be someone else. It's just when you start to learn to be yourself, to be who you are and embody that, and in every area of your life, your business, your home, you think about like, what is it that you want truly? That's when success follows. When you try to pretend to be someone else, or you're afraid to show yourself completely, it is exhausting. It takes up a lot of energy trying to be someone else, right? So before I get started on how we can utilize social media, I just thought that authenticity, being yourself, is a really great way, kind of just to give you a reminder and share my experience when it comes to social media and being yourself. All right, so if you guys relate to whatever I said, let me know, share your stories in the chat. So I'm going to move on to now to talk about 3 things that I think will really help you with social media, to think about sales, to think about leads and collaborations. Okay, so I'll tell you exactly how I became really good at selling, and the homework that I did in order to become successful with social media. Okay. Okay. So, but before I get started, I forgot about this slide. I put this picture here just to kind of put you guys in the right mindset, and that is, what did we do before social media? What did we do in the 90s? For those of you that were alive in the 90s, like I was, what did we do in the 90s when it came to promoting our business or marketing, when we didn't have Instagram and Facebook? So just give me a 1-word answer or whatever, flyers. Okay, good. Billboard stickers, word of mouth. Excellent. Keep going, keep going. I want to know more answers. TV ads. Excellent. Brilliant. Clever bunch, yeah? Okay, so as you can see, it was a lot harder to get a TV ad going, right? Like you had to spend lots and lots of money to get to that point. And what social media has done is simplify that. So if you are someone in the like group here doesn't like social media, I just want you to think about what did we do before that? How hard was it to reach the right person? So okay, so when we do, like, first of all, I want you guys to understand what you just written, right? Like, it was a lot more difficult to reach your people. Sometimes it was just your little group of people that you had access to, your local community, your neighbors. And now I am teaching someone. I was just having a conversation with someone from Hungary and someone in Bahrain. They're clients of mine, and I was talking to them about helping them with how to learn phrases. This would never have been, I would never have been able to like have those as clients before social media. They both found me on social media. 90% of the people I work with find me on social media. And so I just want you to remember this diagram that I created, which is the way to remember it is AIDA. So AIDA. So write this down, AIDA. If someone can pop it in the chat. And it's awareness, interest, decision, action. And it's really important for you to understand this kind of funnel. I just popped it in there just because you need to know where social media comes to play, right? So where do you think social media lies? I think I wrote it down already. I did. Okay, so social media. Thank you, Emmanuel. So social media lies in the awareness stage, right? And also it can be in the interest and decision at any point here, but the main part is awareness, right? It allows people to know who you are. Say somebody maybe shared your Instagram post, or your post on Facebook, or retweeted your Twitter tweet. And what happens is, someone just kind of sees you for the first time, and that's raising awareness, right? And so, but once they're like, oh, I really like this person, that's when it goes to the next level, which is, I want to know more. And this is where the podcast, email, YouTube comes in, where you do continuous weekly content, free content that people can keep coming back and receiving like value before they've even ever like worked with you. So this is not part of it, but just kind of giving you an idea of how like a customer will think, right? So once they go to the end, which is like the decision, that's when you kind of create something to help them make that decision. Because what's happening is they're like, should I choose Boots, or should I choose Tesco's to buy this specific toothbrush, for example? And so then they'll see that Tesco has a points system, and that's where they'll decide to go to Tesco instead. And so that's where the decision is, and then the action, which is continuing with customer service, that actually providing the product, which is at the end. So this is really important to know where like social media lands. So social media is at the very beginning of the customer life cycle. This is where they find you and know about you, so that they can work with you at a later stage. Have I bored anyone to death yet? No? Okay, cool. So knowing this, you have to understand like how does your business fit into this funnel, right? How does it fit? What are you doing at every stage of your business when it comes to this funnel? So then let's go to sales. Like, how do we get sales from social media? So like I said at the very beginning, is awareness. How do we get them to take action, which is right at the bottom? How do we do that? So the first thing, which is absolutely boring, but such a must in business, and it's something that I completely ignored when it came to my own business, But then I became really serious, and it has gotten me results. Now, when I say research, there's obviously lots of different aspects to this. But does anybody whoever's watching, do you just give me a yes or a no? Do you do a research, or you haven't done any research when it comes to your business? Okay, good. See some familiar faces, Shantae. Yeah, brilliant. All right, so I'm going to kind of give you a different way of thinking about research. And the way I want you to think about it is like different areas, right? So the first thing is your person. I'll tell you a little bit of a story. So I understood how important your ideal customer is. So the first thing obviously is thinking about who is this person that you're going to be solving a problem with, for. So for example, you have an ideal customer. So tell me in the chat if you do have an ideal customer that you keep in your mind. Yes or no, or sometimes. Excellent. Brilliant. So with this ideal customer, this is where all your answers lie. And I think a lot of people underestimate how ideal customers are so important when it comes to social media. And this is where strategy comes in. You're not going straight into, let me post random things. You're going back and you're creating a strategy around the person that you're going to be serving. So for me, I just selected someone that I thought, okay, wow, I love working with you. And I started asking them questions like, what kind of websites do they enjoy going back to? Which social media platforms do they enjoy following? Or I'll just go to their social media and look at the following part. And usually the people with the ticks or whatever are right at the top. And you can see who they follow, what do they like, what other industry leaders in your industry that they're following as well. So going back to industry. So again, so you've done your research with your ideal client, moving on to who, what industry am I in, and is it working? Or are do people actually need what I'm offering? And investigating, looking at who are the competitors and understanding how they do business. Is business booming? Is it something that people actually want? And so again, I don't want to kind of go into too much detail when it comes to this, but it's so important for you to know your ideal customer, probably more than you know yourself when it comes to like research. I want you to know everything about them. I really want you to make commitments and like and say, I'm going to be interviewing them at the very beginning once a week. And then after that, when you really feel like, yes, I really know them, once a month, you meet up with them, you put it on a schedule, and you ask them lots of questions like, what do you think of this product that I want to sell? What could be improved about it? What are your struggles? If you have any questions like, what kind of social media posts do you enjoy? Then asking them those questions. And I think this is something that many people don't think about, because this is where the strategy comes in, right? So if you want to utilize social media well, go back to the person that is going to be consuming your content. This is imperative. It is so important for you to use social media as a tool rather than just randomly go out there and post different things. What does your client want? What do they want to see from you? And then go from there. So just a random picture of someone investigating someone. I always say it's really cool to like, not cool, kind of actually weird, but I have a book and I have a weird picture that's like I told her like, I'm going to take a screenshot of you, and she said it's fine. I printed her picture, put it on a like this booklet, and I put all the information down in one book. That's how much information I want you to get from this person that, you know, is your ideal person. And so, and then keep adding to it, because it is a book, right? You keep adding that information. And once you do that, what's going to happen is your copywriting is going to get amazing. Your posts will be so good, because it will be what my followers always say is like, it's as if you're inside my head. Like, and I'm like, I am. You know, I know you very, very well. I know your struggles. I know what you're trying to achieve. I know what keeps you up at night, right? So knowing them to that level where you become an expert in your person. So now I'm going to move on to collaborations. So collaborations is basically working with other people. Now this topic can be a little bit weird for a lot of people. It certainly is for me. I am very much, I don't want to talk to anyone, but over time, I've become really good at collaboration. Recently, I was able to go live on a, you know, what's it called, with someone that has 1.5 million on YouTube. So I've become really good at it, really, really good at building the connections. And I'll tell you how I did it. It's so simple, guys. Just like, it's so important that you think of this picture when you're thinking about collaborations. If you were in public, would you say the same thing to that person? And and I know this is like super simple, but for some reason, a lot of people forget the social aspect of social media, and they tend to kind of just go straight in and say, I have things to sell you, you better buy it, kind of thing. And it's like, okay, I don't want to really talk to you. You are a stranger, block. That's what happens on Instagram. And it's important for you to understand that the same rules that apply in real life on a bus, like in a bus or on a train, applies on like in online, right? And what I want you to think about is, you are there to build a relationship, you are there to make a connection, and it's important that you do not forget that, because a lot of people, what they think is, what can I get, what can I get? Turn that on its head and think, what can I give? How can I give to this person? How can I connect and build a relationship with that person? Because people do feel it. I get messages all the time where people, you can tell like they have never looked at any of my posts. They just see the number and they just want to work with me. And that I just completely ignore these kinds of people, because I know that they're just after one thing. You can smell it from a mile away. So it's important, first of all, for you to support that person, appreciate their work, share their content, and tell them, hey, I really love what you're doing with this product. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I completely am with you. Like, you need to come from a place of support, a place of patience, and it's a long game. So the story I told you about the 1.5 million, you're like, woo, like that's amazing. But it took me like a year to build that connection. And at the back of my mind, I never thought that I would collaborate with him. I just wanted to connect with that person because they're in my industry. And until now, like I could just literally send him a message and say, let's do a quick live now. And it's not really where my head's at. It's always like about, how can I help them? How do we build a connection? And sometimes we'll collaborate, sometimes we'll help each other. And that's where your head should be at. So make a list. So your CTA, your call to action for you, your homework from me right now for this part is make a list of all the different people in your industry that you'd love to work with. You would love to maybe create a product together, or love to go on a live, or create a post together, or a reel. Whoever it is, make a long list and start building those relationships from today. Be patient and understand that sometimes people will be the first ones to say, hey, let's work together, but build that relationship first, then move on to suggesting things like, hey, I would love to work with you, you know, I'm not sure how, but I just have a good feeling about us working together. Yeah. And I was telling one of my colleagues the other day, I was giving her suggestions as to, you know, liking something. You know, when you watch stories and you can react, that's a good way of, like, you know, reacting to someone, you know, looking at their content and engaging with their stuff. Then the last one is leads. When we go back to the funnel, basically what we're doing is we're using social media as a tool. Remember, I said that. So you're taking them from social media and then you're sending them to your content, to your website. Give them something, a reason to go to your website. And that's like capturing emails, finding a way, so creating blogs, YouTube videos, even if it's like you do weekly YouTube videos, put it on your website and make sure that everyone's going back to your home. And this is what I always talk about, is don't send people to other people's homes. Although I'm here like telling you social media, this is not where you live. This is not your home. This is someone else's home. You're using social media as a tool to send people to your actual home. And when they're on your website, this is called leads, right? They can become like potential buyers. Then that's when they'll be looking around your website and they'll be looking at all the different offers that you have, other content that you provide for free, and so on. Does that make sense? Check the comments, see if everybody's alive still. Okay, brilliant. So, I mean, I've got a few more slides, but I would prefer to just go on the... Okay, so what I want to say is, like, you have to really think about the whole, like, all of your ideal customers and so on as traffic, like on a road, or people walking in central London, right? They're all walking and they're making their way around, and then they look at something and they're, oh, 50% discount, and they go in. So that's what creates that you're basically leading them to a destination. And let me check if you were listening. So what does social media help with? So do you remember the AIDA chart? Which part does it help with? Ooh, look at this. Everybody's paying attention. There may be 5 people are paying attention. Is that it? Okay, so it is to raise awareness. And the one thing that I want you to walk away with today is social media is a tool. Do not let it waste your time. Don't spend a lot of time consuming rather than creating. And use it as a tool to send people to your website. Give them a reason to visit you on your website and so on. All right? You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for interacting with me. If you guys want to like join the Rebel Business School courses, just go to the website, which is therebelschool.com, which now we have integrated something even cooler. I'm saying that because I'm in charge of that area. But once you're done with the course, so if there's anybody here that's completed the course, we have now got something called Rebel Plus, which is continuous support, networking events, workshops, you name it. Like, we've got clubs and so on, so you can like continue. We're not just leaving you on a like by yourself as soon as the courses are done. And I really, really love it. If you go to therebelschool.com /PLUS, you'll be able to find out more information if you are an alumni and you're watching this. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Emmanuel, and the rest.
Thank you very much, Halima, for your presentation and workshop. Very valuable information for our audience.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Shukran, as they say in Arabic. That means thank you in Arabic.
Yeah, afwan, afwan.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move on to our panel speakers that we have today. I'm sure we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panel speakers, and I'm gonna allow them the opportunity to introduce themselves, just give a brief introduction, and then we'll go on to the questions that the audience have for us. Audience, please put your questions in the chat, so we can, have them prepared for our panelists. And I'm going to start off with Sandra. Could you give us a brief introduction and just let us know a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Sandra Satarian, and you can tell I'm from America. I'm Haitian American, so my family are from Haiti, so we're from the Caribbean. And I've been living here for about 20 years now. I work for Camden Council, but I also have a side hustle, which is called Knots UK. And we are a head wrap and accessories company. So just very briefly, I started the company when a friend of mine got cancer, and I wanted to help women who were who'd also lost their head to chemotherapy to have an alternative to the wigs they were being offered by the NHS. And that's how my business started. Is that brief enough, Swiss?
Thank you very much, Sandra. That was. Thank you. And our next panelist, can I have Samira?
Yes, my name is Mira Gomez. Born and raised from Sweden, the accent. Moved to London a year and a half ago. I am the founder and now CEO of EMMSTech, which is an organization back home in Sweden and the Nordics where we support women of color in the tech industry through scholarships, workshops, meetups, networking, and all that fun stuff. I'm also a program manager at Impact Hub King's Cross, where I support entrepreneurs to set up their businesses. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Samira. Troy, can you give us a brief introduction, please?
Sorry guys, I'll turn back my camera on in just a second, but I'm just in the middle of something. So look, my name's Troy. I'm from Islington originally. I run a small business called Our Little Markets. We're based in Camden and in and around London, running market stalls, supporting young people, also those not so young, into gaining employment via market stalls.
Thank you very much. Lewis Howell, could you give us a brief
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much, Swiss. And thank you to everybody who has helped make today happen as well. My name is Lewis Howell. I am the co-director of one social enterprise called Revolution Hive, which was started 5 years ago by me and 2 friends. The reason being that we wanted to go about really equipping young people for life beyond the classroom. And so we run workshops and programs in schools, colleges and universities up and down the country that focus on personal development, social responsibility and global citizenship. And in the last 5 years that we've been running, we've worked with about 17,000 young people now. And my other organization, 7PK, exists to be able to help people from disadvantaged situations have more equity within society. So we do consultancy, training and capacity building for organizations in the spaces of social mobility and equalities.
Thank you very much, sir. Very concise. Pablo, could you give us a brief introduction, please?
Hi, hello, everybody. My name is Pablo Morgan. I work in the construction industry as a mechanical supervisor, and I run a social enterprise called Morgan Developments, which was set up to help empower the Black diaspora to get into the industry by the blue collar route, which is skilled trades like plumbing, electrical, carpentry, paint and decorating, etc. That was my route into the industry. I've been in the industry now maybe 10 years, and I've progressed nicely. I have a very stable job, stable career, etc. And I'll be able to give that same opportunity to others like myself.
Thank you very much. And that's all our panelists. I just want to remind the audience, could you put your questions in the chat that you have for our panelists so that we can, get your questions over to them so you can get the answers that you need. I'm going to start off with a question, and I want the panel to kind of intuitively pick up on answering this or these questions. Thinking about how many people have a business idea, but may be too apprehensive about starting. How did you all develop the confidence to get started with your business idea? And how did you overcome the challenges all new businesses face?
I'd love to answer this one.
Go ahead, sir.
So personally, I think when people want to start a business, they get bogged down with all the planning. They're planning. It's too detailed. It's a waste of time, essentially. I think more people should just start working immediately and fail as fast as possible. And I think that's the best way to build confidence and to learn from your mistakes as well.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I agree. I think the old school way was to, you know, create a 5-year business plan and kind of, and you know, stick to that kind of rigid format. But, you know, it's about being lean. It's about being iterative and approaching things with an open mind, and learning as you go. So I think that's very sound advice. My next question is, what steps did you take to develop your business niche and unique selling point? What advice would you give to others thinking about their niche in the market? I'll place that question to Sandra. So I'll ask that again. What steps did you take to develop your business niche and unique selling point? What advice would you give to others thinking about their niche in the market?
So I think I count myself really lucky because I wasn't thinking about starting a business until I was asked to show a friend of mine who'd lost her hair how to wrap. And then I realized there was a need for women to be able to have other alternatives. And then I started going into hospitals and showing other women who had lost their hair to chemotherapy how to wear alternatives to wigs. And it was there that the idea about the business came about. And so I think sometimes you have an idea in your mind about what you want to do, but sometimes the idea is right in front of you. And you don't always, I think sometimes we're kind of waiting for that. But I think from the good thing about the business that I'm in is that I meet a lot of other businesses, a lot of other, especially female-led businesses, and that they already have those ideas. They already know what they want to do. And I always say, well, just start it. What's stopping you from just starting? You start small, right? You don't have to start big. There were lots of things I learned along the way, and I know this is a little bit off, but I just want to get this in there. There were things that I learned along the way, like who you could contact to help you with your business. So an organization like Fiverr, you could build a website for £50. It's incredible. I did not know this. I spent a fortune building my website. And then someone said, but why don't you go to Fiverr? And I was like, what? And you can negotiate on Fiverr. Never pay full price. You can negotiate everything. I also went to Google Campus as well, and they were doing these free courses, and I went to them within the first week of launching my business. And they looked over my Instagram, they looked at my website, and they just gave me such great ideas. So when I first started my business, it was like 10 different things to do before you checked out. And they were like, no, that's too long. No one's gonna wait that long to check out. You need like two steps and then a checkout. So little things like that just made a really big difference to how I was selling, right? And even though it doesn't sound like a lot, that really made a big difference to how much I started to sell. I'll find the link and I'll stick it in the chat. But those are the kind of things that really helped me in my business. So so the thing around niche, you either have an idea and you start it, or sometimes it comes to you. And I was lucky enough that it managed to come to me through the work that I was doing.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Samira, can you shed a bit of light on that yourself as well? You know, what steps did you take to develop your business niche and unique selling point? And what advice would you give to others thinking about their niche market?
Definitely. I didn't think that much about a niche when I started EMMSTech. We were a group of 4 women of color. 3 of us were Black, and we met just because the 3 of us had this frustration that there wasn't anybody that looked like us at tech events or in tech in general. I have this story where I tell people like I would go to tech events and like conferences and I would just see like 2 other Black girls, and then I go to another conference and it would be the same 2 Black girls, and I'd be like, wait, is it just the 3 of us here? So when we started EMMSTech, it was just, all right, like I want to be in a space where I can talk about tech and learn about tech with people that look like me and people that have my experiences. So like Pablo said, like we just did our first event, we did our first workshop, weren't even registered as an organization or didn't really have any money either. We're just like, let's just try and do something. I posted a couple of things on Instagram, and then we saw that like, okay, we have this need for women that look like us that are in tech to see each other. People have come to this event, so clearly they also see that need. And as kind of the CEO, and as the one that works with partnerships, I would oftentimes kind of get the question from other people or from other companies that are like, well, you know, why are you working with just women of color? And especially like the Swedish and Nordic market, and I can imagine the UK as well, is very like, you know, like, oh, but we have gender equality, like we have women in high positions. And I'm like, yeah, but like all these women are white, which is, you know, great for them, but like there's no Black women, there's no Arabic women. And they'd just be like, oh, but you know, like it's discrimination, it's this or that. And I was just like, I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to explain myself to you. And in Sweden as well, we didn't have any statistics to show that there aren't that many of us or that we have this problem. So I didn't really have anything either that I could back up with to explain why I'm focusing on this group of people that look like me and people that have the same experiences as me. So I kind of like, I tell people like, I'm not like, I don't explain myself to people. Like people can ask me why women of color. And I'm like, that's what I do. If you don't get it, like, you know, you don't need to be here. You don't need to be at this event. We don't need to have this call because I don't need to explain myself to you. You either get it or you don't. And yeah, like I said, it came very, like, it kind of came from me personally. And that's also why I tell people sometimes, like, don't be afraid to focus on like your community and your people. Like if you have this product that, you know, like Black women are going to love this product. A white woman might not understand it. A white man might not understand it. And that's fine. Like the product isn't for them at the end of the day. So if you know that this is for your community and they like that, just go ahead. I mean, if you're the only one that likes like chamomile, you know, ice cream and you want to sell that, then maybe not. But if you have this thing that you know is for your people, you don't need to explain to people that aren't your people why it's right. You kind of know within yourself if it is something that's going to work or not.
Thank you very much. I'm going to pose my next question to Troy, but does anyone want to make a point on any of the points that Samira Gomez just made? Does anyone have any comments on any of the things she just explained?
I mean, I'm very obviously conscious of the time, but I think the reason Samira's point is so important is because whenever I do any form of talk, training, seminar, anything in the space of entrepreneurship and business startup, I've come to the conclusion that I need to spend the first quarter of the time that I have convincing people not to start a business. And I think the reason for that is because if you don't actually care about the space that you're intending to take up, don't do it. Like, I'll be real, we don't need more people just with entrepreneur in their Instagram bio. We don't need that. Do you get what I'm saying? We don't just need more people who put motivational quotes on their social media talking about I'm a boss and this and that. We don't need that. What we need is people who genuinely see themselves as being able to progress the industry or sector that they're going to operate in as a result of their existence. What we need is people who are so passionate about the change that they intend to make and the problem they intend to solve that I'm going to go so far as to say they're willing to die for this. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so I think the reason why Samira's point is so important is because through that lived experience, she's able to say, do you know what? I will not leave this earth unless I see this change made. So if you're sitting here watching this right now and you just want to start a business for the sake of doing so, I would ask you, how much do you really care about the situation that currently exists that you intend to try and solve as a result of your business's existence?
Excellent point, brother.
Also, I'd like to just, sorry, before I start.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of what Samira was saying, like I really like your unapologetic like style, as in you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Like you're right, people, and it's a valuable tool for people to know that some people are gonna like what you're doing and be invested in it, and some people ain't. You can't get all worried too much about the people that don't really get what you're trying to do. Just be kind of focused on what you're doing and just know what you're doing is the what you're doing is the right thing, despite what people are saying, and have that that unapologetic attitude. Like, no, I'm not. I don't need to explain myself to you. I'm just gonna do what I've done. The people that are benefiting from the service that I'm providing, they're the people I need to focus on rather than the opposite.
Yeah, you have to have a sense of tunnel vision, definitely. Kind of like an athlete when they're training up to, do a 100-meter run.
Yeah.
They're just concerned with what the race that they're running rather than looking side to side or,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. I mean, from a music perspective, I don't think Link Up TV is worried about what SBTV is doing or Graham Daly is worried about what Link Up TV is doing,
Yeah.
I've done some projects with Rashid. I even asked him, and when I asked him about SBTV, he just put his finger straight like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking towards my goal and what I'm doing, and I found that very, very important. I find that very important as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, sorry, go ahead, brother.
I've got one more thing. Sorry, yeah. I've been writing because I'll take you advice. I've been writing. So look, I just want to just make a point, yeah. So, because everyone knows Swiss is from like So Solid and whatnot, yeah. And also he said it's the song 21 Seconds and whatnot, but I do implore you lot to listen to Broken Silence and Cry. They're the songs that I really implore you lot to listen to. But also, anyway, so I run a few market stores and they're based in all different areas. And honestly, a lot of that model in my head came from So Solid, honestly, that Swiss was a part of. So what used to happen, I'm going to speak because this is like my generation. So what they used to do was have raves, yeah, wherever, Astoria, Colosseum, Temple, Ministry of Sound, Camden Palace, all over. But they used to have different members at different places. So like Harvey and Swiss somewhere, then maybe Asher and someone else somewhere, and there's someone else and someone else somewhere. So for me, I kind of looked at that concept. Again, I'm not really, music wasn't my thing. I love music, but that as in everyone's got their niche, haven't they? I grew up in the markets, so I've always been that. But I've also known you can't just have one thing. So this is that. I'm not going to be long here, sorry. But what I'm trying to say is that when you're doing something, like if I've got one market store, it's going to generate one income. Whereas if I can afford to employ people and have them kind of even like give them a training week or two with myself, move them onto their own store, then what happens is then they're creating an avenue and point for themselves as well as me, and then they're going to teach another person how to do that, and who knows where it might end up, a shop or wherever it might be. They go into the restaurants. Even listen, a person might even come on for a week and then just think, you know what, the markets ain't for me. But listen, it's got them out of that situation where they've got out of bed now. They've got up early in the morning. They're in a bit of a routine. But again, what I wanted to do, this is kind of coming back because I'm very observant, and from a young age, I remember going to these different places, and I was thinking, oh, this is what you should do. Because a crew of like 30 people. But you're all under that one banner, and you're all in different places. I just looked at that model and kind of used that for my business. And so for those of you that only know Swiss for what he said, there were 21 seconds and whatnot, it's a bit deeper than that. And I've clocked a lot of things from earlier, just in terms of having a mentality of that perseverance. Same thing that going back to what Samira was saying, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, go on, Swiss. Go on again.
Thank you very much, brother. Yeah. When we came up, we had various MCs and DJs, and we all were playing. One would be playing in Birmingham, another in Manchester, another in London, and that enabled us to get our name out in different places. We're all making money as individuals, but the brand is spreading regionally to other cities at one time, and that's what kind of allowed us to make good headway in the music industry in terms of growing our fan base and stuff like that. And I'm still going up and down motorways now because I enjoy, connecting with our audience.
And it can be applied. It can be applied to everything.
Yeah, and exactly. And you can transfer that idea, that concept to different business models. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I have another question. So someone in the chat is asking, what advice would you give to a new electrician looking for opportunities to step up the career ladder? Anyone can take this question, except
It's got to be for Pablo, surely. Isn't that his space? Or could be wrong.
I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, Pablo,
It would be for me.
Thanks, Lewis.
What are you trying to do? It depends. If you're trying to start a business, I'd advise perhaps going self-employed, or just start and then trying to find clients, etc., like taking things on a price. If you're trying to scale up your career, I'd look at courses. That's what I did. So I was a plumber. Then I studied at H&C. I spent £6,000 studying at H&C, and I leveraged that certificate to basically get my foot in the door with management. So those are your two options, really and truly. Or it depends what you want to do. If you're moving to management, I'd apply for a course, start it, and apply for shitloads of jobs. Gosh, sorry for my language. Apply for loads of jobs, and then if you're lucky, or if you try hard enough, a company will pick you up because they see that you're studying, and they'll probably pay for your degree or whatever. So that's one option. Or if the option is to build a business, I just hunt for clients, because you're an electrician, so you're like gold dust, really and truly, especially if you're good.
Thank you, Samira. The entrepreneurial path isn't easy. Sometimes you have late nights, early mornings. You're doing a lot as one person sometimes. How do you persevere through hard times? What tools do you use? What approach do you go with when you're facing a big hurdle that you sometimes find hard to climb over?
I'd say definitely having a team or having other people that you're doing it with is kind of the number one thing, I'd say. Like I said, when we started EMMSTech, we were 4 co-founders. I mean, I'm the only co-founder that's left now, but we have built our team now with social media manager, with community manager, and everything else. But having other people that can help with different parts of the business is so helpful. Because, for example, in the beginning, because we were such a small team and we were trying to do everything, everybody was doing everything. I was managing our events, I was taking care of our social media. And I mean, I didn't have early mornings because I'm not very good at waking up in the morning, but I had a lot of late nights. And especially when I started EMMSTech as well, I was still in school. So I'd kind of go to school 9 to 5, and then I'd come home, have dinner with the family, and then I'd sit on my bed and keep doing work. And on the weekends, I do it as well. But eventually we kind of figured out a way to make sure, okay, each person does one thing, because it helps so much. Knowing that I don't have to worry about social media, I don't have to really care about that at all. We've hired somebody now, and it's funny because I'll be scrolling through my Instagram and I'll be like, oh my God, this is such a good post. And they'll be like, oh, it's EMMSTech. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was happening. And then having somebody else take care of the events, and I know that I can trust these people, that they are doing a good job, and I can just focus on the one thing that I need to do. And when it comes to tough times, what we were talking earlier about, like, the shamelessness and like knowing and having that tunnel vision, I'd say for me, it didn't kind of come naturally. I wouldn't say I'm the most confident person. And like I said, when I started EMMSTech, I was 19, 20, I was in school. So when I was getting these people questioning me or saying no and stuff like that, I'd say it really did bother me. But at the same time, maybe because I was in school and maybe because I had a team, I feel like EMMSTech for me wasn't everything. It was definitely a passion, and it was something I could see myself doing long term, but it wasn't kind of the end all be all. And if somebody said something, it would hurt me, but I'd just kind of be like, okay, whatever, like, this isn't really paying my bills. We're a nonprofit. So, I'm not going to kind of go to death for it. Like, I'll be able to find something somewhere else. And it's kind of those tough times that builds up your armor a little bit, that makes you a little bit tougher, unfortunately. But I guess if you kind of have the bigger vision, like I said, for me, I didn't see it as the end all be all. I just kind of saw it as, I'm doing this thing for myself and for my community. These people are pushing against me, but it's fine. Like, I have my community. I know I can reach out there if I need something. That kind of helped with persevering a little bit. And like I said, having teammates, because at the end of the day, we do go through hard times. Last year, when I was applying for my internship, that was kind of my main focus. And I had just moved to a new country as well. And I couldn't do as much for EMMSTech, but having my co-founders that I could kind of lean on and be like, hey, like, I can't put as many hours on this thing anymore. Can you kind of take over on these things? And knowing that they were there for me, and knowing that they were people I trusted and that I knew could do good work as well, kind of eased my mind a lot, because I knew, okay, I can take a step back and EMMSTech won't crumble because I don't trust these people. I know that like they'll be able to take care of this. So I'm not sure if I answered the question, but yeah.
That was perfect. I want to bring Halima in quickly and just ask, Halima, how important is spirituality in tough times for yourself as well?
That's a really good question. So I feel like I let like a lot of the times I use spirituality in terms of like morals, you know, like providing a good customer service, for example. If there is a tough time, like if I do have a like something going wrong, I always kind of go back to what's right in terms of that situation. When it came down to like Black Lives Matter at the time, I had a lot of like conflict when it came to a lot of people like running towards wanting to work with me at that time. And it was like, where are these people before? And I always felt like almost like I had to think about how that fits in with my beliefs and how it fits in. Like, do I completely like just be like, okay, you guys were literally didn't know who I was, and you're now like trying to collaborate, trying to do different things with me. So like, I found it really, really tough to kind of navigate those times, and I just had to kind of go back and think like, what's the right thing to do? Because sometimes the right thing to do is like the hardest thing to do, and when it comes to that, like I always go back to what is the right like thing by what I believe in my religion. And sometimes it's like saying no to certain people because you know their I guess their intentions. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. Thank you very much. Lewis, I'm going to direct the next question to yourself. Did you have a mentor or someone who already walked the path to help you out in the beginning or even now?
I would love to say yes, you know, but I must admit I didn't. I did, let me not lie actually. So there were aspects of my professional career prior to starting in business where I felt like I had the support of mentors, and in certain spaces where I was developing a relationship with the world of entrepreneurship. I do remember definitely having someone who I'd classify as a mentor. He tried and deny that kind of role, but big man, you're meeting up with me 3 times a week after work every day to talk about business and help me with my understanding. You're basically a mentor. Did I have a mentor when I specifically started Revolution Hive and or 7PK? No, but what we did do with Revolution Hive, I didn't do it, but one of my co-founders did go on a incubation program to be able to, which was specifically targeted at social enterprises that wanted to tackle educational inequality, which is of course where we sit. So I guess we somewhat were supported by the fact that one of my co-founders was going to that and then coming back and relaying the information. But one of the things that I find is that we mustn't overlook the fact that you can develop what may feel like a mentoring relationship if you are proactive in your personal and professional development. So I find that because of the fact that I am very hungry to continuously read new books, go on courses that I find, you know, whether it's watching videos, whatever the opportunity may be for me to develop said skill or piece of knowledge that I don't have. Think about it, like someone positioned it to me like this, like a book, yeah, that someone who has achieved something on the path that you're on, a book they have written, instead of seeing it as I'm reading their book, see it as I'm getting free mentoring from this person in the space of 20 or 30 or whatever the minutes is that you're reading this book. Like, you can develop a relationship like that. There's a motivational speaker in America who, okay, to be fair, I actually do know him and talk to him now. But before, I still see him as a mentor to me, even though I don't talk to him hardly ever. But if you engage with the content well enough, you can actually start to feel as if you're getting a mentoring relationship if you take the time to think about who do you want to be able to be your guide. Because remember, you should be just as selective with who your mentor is in life as your mentor should be with who they choose to mentor. And so I think you need to look at what other resources are available to you to be able to gain the guidance and learning that you need in order to take you on this path, in the same way that you would if you actually met with someone on a weekly or fortnightly or monthly basis. It takes just a little bit more responsibility, because you have to do some self-reflection, you have to ask yourself some questions, you have to take some action. You may not have the accountability, but if you're willing to actually take the action, then there's nothing to stop you getting that from other sources.
Yeah, great answer, brother. Thank you. Sandra, I want to pose the next question to yourself. You mentioned that in your introduction that you are Haitian, and we know Haiti is a very powerful country, and you come from a powerful people. How important is it? How important is culture in your endeavors and what you do? That's my question.
That's a really good question. So one of the things I learned from the Google campus, which I just put a link in, one of the first things they said, because when I first started putting stuff on social media, and Halima made me think of this, is that I wasn't putting photos of myself, because I was like, nobody wants to see me. They want to see the women and their head wraps and their stuff. And the guy at Google campus said, but you are your brand. You are your brand. And that was like the light turned on. And I was like, what do you mean? I am the brand. They say people are trusting you. They're buying from you. You are the brand. They see you. So what are you putting out there about yourself? And so it was only then that I started to think about what to include my culture, where I come from, how important that is in my story, right? And who I am, and about the business that I was building. And you're right, I come from Haiti, and we are rebellious, as you know. We are a powerful little place. And I went back to my mother. And I know we were just talking about mentors, and I think mentors come in all shapes and sizes, right? And it was my mother who said to me years ago, before I even thought about starting a business, I was buying head wraps from someone. And I got in contact with them when I was in New York. And I said, oh, it'd be great to come into the shop and buy some stuff. And they never contacted me. And I was spending money and, bringing my family. I bought my sisters. And my mom said, why are you begging people to buy from them? Start your own darn company. Like, why are you begging people to do this stuff? And that stayed with me for a really long time as well, because it was that, and she didn't know this, but she was saying exactly what I needed to hear. And I think having kind of the people around you to support you in these spaces are really, really important, especially when things are low. And one thing I will never, ever forget, someone said to me, unrelated to business, but I use it in my business practice. And she said to me, if this fails, this is not the end of you. You are still going to go on and live a phenomenal, beautiful life. And I thought, you're right. She's right. I am still going to have a beautiful life if this fails, right? So remember that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get things right, but we also have to look after our own mental health. We also have to make space to look after ourselves in this process. And we're probably going to get it wrong to begin with, and that's okay. That's part of the learning. And that's where we learn, right? That's where we build. And it's through that we grow, right? Those are really important lessons.
Does anyone else want to chime in on that question, how important culture is? Because living in the UK as a person that's heritage isn't from this country, it's easy to lose yourself. And we know that, your identity, your own cultural awareness is like a fingerprint. No one else has it except you and your unique experience. So does anyone else want to chime in on that question and give their own answer on that?
Does anyone want to, or I'm happy to feed in?
I'd like
Halima?
to say something. Yeah. This is something like very controversial. But when I was really young, in my teens, I actually used to avoid saying where I was from. So people ask me where I'm from, I would always kind of give a different answer every single time, depending on who the person was. And it wasn't until like maybe a few years ago, I started to embrace who I was, my culture. So when I went to school, Somalians were like regarded as, I guess, like desert rats. That was the nickname, and it was just like so really, really bad to even say that you were from there, because there was a really negative connotation when it came to who we were as people, like our background, what we ate, and so on. So I spent like my entire basically youth talking about like just avoiding that question at all cost. And when I kind of let that go, it was just so it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And now I'm able to like embrace that and talk about the nuances and talk about who I am as a person when it comes to my background. And like I started to ask more questions. I wanted to know more. But before I felt like I am exhausted from just having my teens avoiding that question of where are you from. I think at one point I just wish that I was white, I was like normal everybody else, and I thought that if that was the case, it would just have been so much easier, right? If I was just born into a white family where things were just, to me, like normal at the time. Now I'm just so proud of where I'm from, my background, my heritage. The people that came before me, we came to the UK as refugees. There's like a long history of like stories and experiences that like I feel really sad that I didn't get to experience as a young person. And so like I just want to kind of share that with you guys, and how important it is for, I guess, like, the younger generation to embrace who they are, their identity, and to have held up high and say, this is who I am, and I'm going to take up space, you know, like, because in my industry, I'm the only Black person in my industry. I'm biracial, you know, Arab and Somali, but it's like first in everything, like the mayor said, like I really hate that. Like I hate being the first in anything. I wish there was more representation, and I feel like all of you, like there's a chance for other people to be able to see you and just, you know, see how proud you are of who you are, and where you come from. And I think there's a lot more to come now in terms of like the younger generation, because before we didn't have that. When I was growing up, there was no one to look up to or to think, oh wow, this is such an incredible person and I want to be exactly like them. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
This seems to be a magnetizing conversation. I see Lewis and Samira with their hands up. Samira, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I'd say for me, like, because I'm also Somali and Cape Verdean, and when I started EMMSTech, I was studying at Hyper Island, which is supposed to be very diverse. I'm not going to go on my rant about them, but it's supposed to be very diverse. But still, in my classroom, it was majority white people that I saw. And like I said, when I was going to these tech events, it was just white people. But the area that I grew up in, Sweden, is an area that's very predominantly Black and immigrant, and a lot of them are specifically Somali. And I know that when I first started studying and when I first started working with EMMSTech as well, I would go to these events and I feel so exhausted by being the only one. But then there was still something in kind of taking the train home, getting out of the station and just seeing my people. And in the morning, whenever I go to take the train and I just see my people everywhere, that kind of gave me that push to keep going as well. So I'd say like my community has been very instrumental as well in kind of keeping me going, kind of reminding me like this is home. Like when I'm there, I might be on their playing field, but I have my playing field, which is here. And that's why I try to do a lot of my events as well. A lot of our events as well at EMMSTech, we try to do them on our home field, just to show that like tech isn't just something that needs to be in central Stockholm or in central London. We can take it back to the ends or to the places where we are from, but also still doing them in central as well, just to show that there are a group of us. We're all here together and we can be in this space too. Yeah.
Thank you. Lewis?
Yeah, I think for me, the way I wanted to feed into this question was, there was a question that was asked at the start about how did you find your niche and your USP? And I heard a quote a couple of years ago that a lot of times you won't actually find your niche within a sector unless you've been in it for at least 3 years, maybe 5 years plus. And the reason for that is because what you think you're going to do within a given sector or industry actually doesn't turn out being the thing you are going to do unless you stay in it long enough. And I think that's one thing that's super interesting, because in the time period to which you're working that out and building that experience, and you're building that awareness of where you might sit best, the question is, how authentic are you being in the process? Because if you maintain authenticity and integrity throughout that process, i.e. being able to openly express your culture, being able to openly accept who you are and what it is that you're bringing to this space, you're more likely to find your niche quicker. So to bring that, you know, to a bit more of a practical example, I think it's important for us to appreciate that people buy from people. Sandra said earlier that the advice she got was that you are your brand. Does that mean every single person on here has to start building a social media profile that solely focuses on pictures and videos of themselves? Not necessarily. And that's not what Sandra was trying to say. But what we do have to remember is that even if you have the most impersonal, like, honestly, I mean, some people here talk about things like music and that. There are certain like people within the music space, especially in like sort of quote unquote urban music, who have built whole YouTube channels. I'm thinking right now of the guy Amaru Don TV. No one knows what this guy looks like, you know, but where he has maintained his authenticity and owned his culture is he always talks about his heritage. The way he doesn't change the way he talks when he does his interviews. We've never seen his face. We could walk past him every day. Do you get what I'm saying? But he still owns it. Do you get what I'm saying? Another music artist, M. Huncho. We don't know what the brother looks like because the man's wearing a mask all the time. But what we do know is that he talks a certain way. He dresses a certain way. He might reference occasionally things that make us believe what country he might be from. And so effectively what I'm trying to say is, if you are able to own your culture, the people who will feel compelled to want to buy into your products or services are going to be more compelled when they can see that there's something they can connect with. And you being unapologetic about your culture and owning that is going to play a big part in that. Also, it's going to help with your own mental health, because you don't want to feel like you're playing imposter all the time. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you find Lewis Howell in a school, I always say to people, if I come to your school and I say this in front of your head teacher, it's my school now. Why? Because the way I'm operating in that school is like it's my school. No disrespect to your head teacher, big up to them for what they've done in their career, but now it's my school. So guess what? We're going to be playing music in the assembly hall. Guess what? There's going to be music playing in the classrooms, because that's why we're here. Do you get what I'm saying? A teacher tried to say to me in a school in July, oh, I loved your workshop, but you know, maybe just try and ease up on how you use slang. I said, yeah, no problem, thank you. But in my head, I was thinking, do you know why I'm here? The reason I'm here is because you can't connect with the pupils the way I can. So I don't really need your feedback like that right now. Unless it's really constructive, I don't need that. I will use slang because this is how I get them to listen to what I'm talking about. Do you understand? But, you know, the fact of the matter is, if you come to a training with Lewis Howell, I'm Caribbean too. Sandra's lucky, you know. The training Sandra's had me do, you're lucky. With my thing, Soka's running more time when you first reach the room, you know. Do you get what I'm saying? Don't play with me because I'm openly expressing the culture, 100%. So you might come in my thing and think it's carnival. Do you get what I mean? So you have to be careful when you come to a Lewis Howell training. But guess what? The people who want to connect with that will connect with that. So, and I'm going to be cool with that. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And that's your unique identity. That's your fingerprint. And that's what's going to connect, you know, with your audience. And that's important. Pablo, do you have anything to say on this point, brother?
Nah, not on this occasion, you know.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask you another question. Self-sabotage. We all experience it. How do you deal with your own self-sabotaging thoughts and, you know, self-doubt?
Like, I meditate a lot. So every morning I read this book. It's called the Daily Stoic. If you haven't got it, I'd advise getting it because it really sets you up for the day. That's how I deal with it. I try and meditate. I try and exercise. So obviously that releases endorphins as well. It releases a lot of dopamine, makes you feel good. I think that's the best way to overcome. That's how I personally deal with self-sabotaging thoughts, etc.
So before you get to that self-sabotaging event, so to speak,
your
predisposition is already coming from a positive standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that's obviously not an overnight story. So a quick backstory: I've lived alone since 18. So that's been. I'm 28 next year, so that's been developed over a decade. So
you've been meditating since you was 18?
No, I've lived alone since I was 18.
Oh, alone, sorry.
So that process, that resilience, that's been developed over a decade. I'm 28 next year. So it might sound easy for me to say that, but it's a process to it's a process to build it, to build yourself, to make yourself a bit more robust, a bit more resilient, that whenever you do have some self-doubt or you do feel like sabotaging yourself, you won't, kind of thing.
Excellent. As I said, self-sabotage is a general thing that most people deal with. Does anyone else want to comment on that?
I can add that having a good support system is really good. Obviously, like for me, when I started EMMSTech, I felt very uncomfortable kind of stepping into rooms and saying like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, you know, I'm that person, like I'm going to come in here. This is my thing. But I have friends my friends are very like hyped up people. And I thought it was just because obviously we'd grown up together. So it was just like school and having fun. But then as we start getting more mature, it also kind of transferred into like our professional lives as well. So I tell them like, oh, I'm doing this workshop or I'm doing this thing, I'm having this meeting with Apple or whatever. And I tell them that I was nervous, and they would be the first people to be like, what are you talking about? You're that, I don't want to swear, but like, you're that girl, like you're going to go into that meeting, you're going to kick their ass. They want to have a meeting with you. You're not having a meeting with them. Like they're coming for you. And just having like their support was kind of influential in that way. Them always bigging me up and having a community of people that always big me up. And even when I'm feeling kind of insecure or feeling like, you know, this isn't for me, I'm not the right person for this, they would be the first ones to say, you know, don't, like, you are that person. And if anything, I do it for myself, but I also kind of do it for them because I know that they're there for me if anything happens as well.
Thank you very much. Audience, we're going to wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Do not hesitate to ask the questions, your dying and burning questions that you have, the soul stirring questions you might want to ask any of our esteemed panelists today. Who else? I think brother had his hand up. Sorry, name misses me at the moment. I apologize. Did someone have their hand up as we was having this discussion? I'm getting a note in my WhatsApp group that I'm in.
Yeah,
okay.
That was me. I had my hand up.
You try. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was only it's just going back to the culture thing, but I think I kind of missed it. But it was just in terms of about embracing your own culture, but as well as embracing your own culture, embracing like others' culture, and kind of when you're being unapologetically yourself, like a lot of the people in this event, then naturally people are gonna want to embrace that. So as well as embracing your culture, you're embracing others' culture, but you're always remaining unapologetic yourself. You don't need to change the way you speak. If you speak in slang, fine. If you don't speak in slang, fine. Whatever it might be, but however you are, be unapologetic yourself, and people are gonna embrace it or not. But you have to have that thing, be willing to embrace, have, as well as want people embracing you as yourself, you doing the same thing in return.
How have you benefited from that approach in embracing other people's cultures?
Well, on my regular market, I'm in a predominantly like heavy Bangladeshi area, and my culture. So I'm from the Caribbean, so we're taught like, don't be eating no food on the road. If someone tries to give you food, don't eat it. Like, don't take food from people. You know what I mean? But then in the Bangladeshi culture, on my stall and stuff, their aunties and stuff, they come over and they bring you food to eat and whatnot. But I mean, imagine for me in my culture, it's like, no, we don't do that. We don't kind of that's not what we do. Like, take food from people, whatever. But again, it's something that they do in their culture. So I suppose a bit of just compromising, and I've just found this in compromising, it works for my business, but compromising so that, okay, let's say not compromising so much so that you're like, let's say, I don't know, or you're of a religious background and someone offers you something that you don't eat, not compromising in that way, but I mean compromising in a way that where you're not uncompromising yourself and your beliefs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You're not taking yourself too far off with your own square.
Yeah.
yeah, when you're embracing someone else's culture.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but there's a little bit of movement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit of bend, a little bit of fluidity. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
100%, because that's how you make connections as well. You know, it's all about a bit of give and take, and you know, showing people you're willing to embrace them, and they will in return embrace you.
That's
And
right.
then you get a bit of a connectivity in that moment where you can, you know, to potentially build, you know,
and they're the foundation of the foundation of a good business, I believe.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question for anyone to pick up. What are some of the barriers you faced in starting up your business, particularly financial, and how did you deal with overcoming that that form of adversity, so to speak? Finding it hard to get that financial backing, or, you know, not having the resources to start what you want to do. How did you deal with that?
Anyone else want to jump in on this, or should I? All right. Yeah, I mean, for me, mine was interesting because I took an approach that I don't think people should take. Like, I just got vexed on my job one day and quit, and didn't really know how I was gonna how I was gonna work the next month. But I said, we got to work it out, innit? Do you know what I'm saying? We're here now. So what I realized very quickly was that I wasn't going to have clients straight away, because interestingly, the first business I started when I quit my job was actually a marketing agency, and I ran that for 3.5 years. But yeah, it wasn't going to be something that turned revenue straight away. So what I acknowledged was that I had other skills, which included things like speaking, running workshops, stuff like that. And what I did is, through my networks, made people aware that I had left my job and I was going to start working on something else, but I had increased capacity now because I didn't have this thing that took up my 9 to 5. And therefore, what that meant was people who, and a lot of times we don't even realize there are people who would love to work with us, you know, but they just don't know whether you've got the capacity, availability, whatever it is. And you suddenly just saying, oh yeah, I'm going through a transition stage at the moment, or maybe I'm about to do this. They're like, oh my God, so what, you got availability? All right, cool, can we? So that kind of meant that I could at least get by day in terms of being able to maintain my lifestyle, my living standards, whatever. I say lifestyle, listen, it was a hard time, fam. Let me not lie. There was hobnobs for lunch being consumed certain times because there was no money like that. Let me be real with you lot, yeah. But at the same time, I was able to at least have stuff there to just kind of keep me going in the process. So I basically leveraged my skill set and my networks during that time. That was a big thing for me. Some of you need to take advantage of things like what Emmanuel shared in the chat today regarding courses. You know, don't worry, Francesca, my health is A1, but back then it was peak. Like 40p on the whole packet of hobnobs was making a lot of sense. You get what I'm saying? But now, don't worry, CMOS for drinking in the morning and fruits for eat for breakfast and everything there. But at the same time, what I'm saying is, yeah, you want to take advantage of opportunities that might allow you to be able to actually draw some funding so you can pay yourself during the time in which you're working on it and stuff like that. But my suggestion would definitely be to maintain, if you can, some sort of job situation that allows you to continue to have an income. But I think the adversity that Swiss was alluding to, or that the question was alluding to, goes beyond that as well. And I think what you have to appreciate is that you need to make time every week to be able to identify the places where the solutions exist, i.e. whether it is a course, an event, an online group, or whatever it is. There are definitely places where people have found some of those solutions. So you need to find yourself in those environments, because what you're going through is not unique. You get what I'm saying? What you're going through is not unique. So just consider that.
Does anyone else want to chime in on that point?
I
just go on, Samira, go on.
Not to add too much, but just kind of add to that point, and also kind of go back to what Halima said in the beginning about collaborations. I was very lucky in that I was still in school, and in Sweden we do get paid to go in schools. I didn't have too much financial problems, and I was working as well. But when it came for the actual organization, actually having the events, having space, having food, kind of the operations day to day, having those collaborations with people that were interested, people and organizations that were interested in what we do, interested in the people that we were serving, or just interested in tech in general, was really crucial as well. So having those collaborations is both good for social media, but as well when you are in that phase where you maybe don't have money for your actual business, looking at, like Louis said, like who are the other people doing similar things that I can kind of partner up with, that can pay for part of what I do, or that can kind of subsidize parts of it to kind of help you take that step further to then get those clients or get those leads, get a little bit of money coming in, to then push forward. I tell people, I tell my entrepreneurs always, like, go for grants as much as possible. I try to kind of tell people not to go for like venture capital and loans and stuff like that, just so that, you have 100% ownership and that you don't have to pay anything back. So those are kind of bootstrapping, essentially, is a great way to just try and getting things started little by little in a way.
I'm hearing the networking in the chat is going really well. So well done, guys. Keep that up. Sandra, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Samira was saying, is really to build up your networks. So Lewis was very brave to leave his job without having anything to go into right away. And I don't recommend that, because you want to be able to pay your bills, right? You want to be able to live, you want to be able to feed yourself, right? So I'm a realist as well, and you want to be able to look after yourself properly. But you can start to build up your networks, right? While you're still in work or building up your skills. So use up all of your networks. Don't be afraid to ask people for help or to support or mentorship or sponsorship. Like, use it up. Take advantage of what people are offering you. If they're not offering, ask them. There's no harm in asking for additional support. Lots of people will leave a job and will come back to that job as a consultant because they have additional capacity. And like Lewis said, you had additional time to then go off and work on your side hustle or the thing that you really want to do. So that's a really good way of moving forward. But, remember to look after yourself as well in this space. But there are lots of people who are offering lots of free courses, especially now, right? People of color, Black people, we've got the floor. So think of all of the people that you want to connect with, get in touch with them. Don't be afraid to collaborate. Like Halima was saying, don't be afraid to collaborate with people, not just on social media, but contact buyers who are, working for high street shops. Don't be afraid to get in touch with people. Set up your LinkedIn. Make sure you're networking with people on your LinkedIn. These are all things that help you to build up your profile, build up your business, and meet people who are kind of like-minded. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sandra.
And sorry,
Pablo.
And Swiss, sorry.
Keep it brief. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. You know what? Sorry, guys. It's because I can't put my hand up on my chat. I don't know if someone's done it, but I can't put my hand up. So I'm coming across as rude by interrupting, but I'm not. I just can't put my hand up digitally. Yeah. So excuse me, please. But what I wanted to add was going back to Sandra's point. This is not from me. This is from somewhere I heard it from a guy called Sully Breaks. Yeah, he said that the first investor in your business is your employer. So again, everyone's in different circumstances, and definitely Lewis 100% right. If you're young, you've got no responsibilities or whatever it might be, or sorry, as in not no responsibilities. Everyone's got responsibilities, but I mean responsibilities that financial, I suppose, maybe. Then you might have to have your job is going to be the thing that you're going to invest in. So maybe put a bit of money aside from whatever you're working as in your job, and then use that to kind of build your business, because everyone's in different circumstances. A person with maybe 3 kids maybe couldn't just say, "Oh, I'm going to just leave and then go and start this," or whatever. Everyone's in different circumstances, but you make it work for you. But your job, you don't see it as an embarrassment, because the guy giving you your job, that's your first investor, whether it's £100 a week, £200 a week, £300 a week. Even if it is that, you just take a little bit and you use that. You can start a business with 50 quid. So yeah, anyway, short, concise.
Thank you, brother. I'm going to pose another question to you, actually. What advice do you have for us on recruiting the right people as team members for your business?
Is that for me?
Yeah, that's for you, bro. So
for me, it's how I recruit people. I run market stores, so soon enough, and I suppose I run market stores, and I kind of fell into it where I'm working with marginalized groups, because again, before I set up myself as a registered business, I paid people cash in hand. So I suppose like the market is a thing like this. You don't get, there's no interview process. There's no type of barriers where you got to kind of bring your CV or anything like that. Your interview is you come on the stall for the day, and then you'll see if you like it. I'll see if I like you. Then that's it. So I suppose how you find the people, you just throw them at the deep end. And also what you're really looking for, I suppose, is just someone with enthusiasm about anything, whatever it might be. As long as you've got a bit of enthusiasm about anything, then I suppose you can kind of just channel that into whatever. It's just having that, you know, that the person that you're really looking for, that person that's a bit that's you know, yeah.
Curious to learn. Curious to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Curious to learn, have enthusiasm, open-minded.
That's it.
Yeah, definitely. So that closes our questions for today for our panel.
Sorry, bro. Pablo has his hand up. I don't know if you want to let him just.
Oh, is it? I can't see that person. Sorry. Who was that had their hand up?
Pablo.
It was me. It was me.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Pabs.
Yeah, I wanted to second his point. Because say, for example, personally with me, when I want to work, the people I enjoy working with most, the people I don't have to manage. I like people who are a little bit aggressive, like they take control of a certain item, a certain agenda, a certain client. Those are the type of people I love working with. Like, I don't want to manage you. I don't want to micromanage you. We need to both be like, have a vision and like go at it kind of thing. That's the people I enjoy working with, especially on a partnership level. If you want to work for me, that's a different story. But on like a partnership level, especially for a startup, you need someone who's a little bit, you need someone you don't need to micromanage. They have the same kind of drive and the same kind of work rate. That's so similar to what the previous person said. That's what I like.
Yeah, that's the same advice I gave to someone the other day that asked, look for people that have the same values and approach and work ethic as yourself. Look for people that are green, you know, enthusiastic and want to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. And people that are curious to learn, you know. So yeah, that's just me adding on. As I said, we're going to close our panel. I'd like each of you just to give a closing statement of advice for our audience, keeping it very brief, just to round up a closing statement of advice. And I want to start with our women. Samira, I'd like you to go first, please.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to go to someone else I could think about it. But I will say the advice that I give people is kind of around, I think entrepreneurship is a great way to create a job for yourself and create a job where you enjoy what you do, you enjoy what you're selling, and you kind of enjoy the whole aspect of it. But especially young people or even people that are working, I always say as well that entrepreneurship can also be a great way to build your skill sets. So especially if you're young, if you maybe don't know exactly what you want to work with, if there's something that you're interested in and there's a product or service that you can sell within that, just go for it. Like the people have said before, you know, don't sit there and plan too much, just go for it. And from there, you will be able to learn so much that you can't learn in a school bench. If you're really interested in social media, just start setting up social media campaigns, build up the brand, whatever it is. And then if you want to go and look for a job instead of running this business, you will have something substantial that you can show them. Like I built this brand, look at the posts that I made. If you want to work as a project manager or work within management in some type of way, you can show them like, this is a project that I created. I ran it from start to finish. Even if it finished because it failed, you can still spin that story as, these are the things that I learned from it. And like I said, whether you're young or whether you're older, that is something that will able to elevate you beyond other people. Because when you look at the kind of job market, you will have people out there that have parents that have great jobs, that have money, that have connections, and that will be able to get these jobs. But what they don't have that you might have is the perseverance and the drive. So actually going out there and doing things, because they might be able to say, yeah, I went to Harvard, I went to Oxford, my mom works for this company, whatever. You can tell them, okay, that person has read all of those books, that person have read all of these courses, but I've actually done it. I might not have sat behind the bench, but I've actually done all of these things, which shows that I will definitely be able to do them at your company if you want to work for a company, or just kind of building up those skill sets on those small businesses that you start to then create that big business that you actually want to work with. That would be my advice. Just go for it. and build up your own skill sets. Don't be afraid to be selfish as well. Like, if you like tomatoes, sell tomatoes, who cares? Like, just find your own thing that you want to do.
That's right. Thank you very much. Halima, closing statement, please keep it brief.
So I would say the word would be like that I want you to take away is experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment with everything. Don't be afraid to click buttons and to try things out, because it's nothing to do with you as a person. You're out there trying different things, seeing like if things work or if they don't work. And that's how I feel like your mindset should be. Let me give this a try. It failed. Let me try something else, rather than it failed, so that must mean something is wrong with me. And one more thing, just mindset, work on your mindset, because with business and entrepreneurship, that is the biggest thing. The biggest struggle is mindset stuff. So work on that as well.
Thank you very much, Halima. Sandra?
So I'm just going to say what I put in the chat, which is don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Create them. You can create opportunities for yourself. Don't be afraid to start something. Don't be afraid to go for it. That's really, really important. Like, just do it.
Thank you very much. I think that's one of the strong themes of today. Just go and do it. Sorry. Lewis, closing statement, brother. Keep it brief, please.
Mine, if it was advice-based, I truly believe in the 80-20 rule. So when starting, please spend 80% of your time on the 20% of things that you're doing in your business that actually bring the most progress and the most results. And then spend the rest of the 20% of your time on the 80% of other things that are not actually moving the needle the most. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Pablo?
We're all basically on the same narrative here. I would say fail as fast as possible, definitely. So whatever your idea is, get it out there, action it, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, regress a little bit, but the progression will come eventually.
Thank you. And Troy, could you close off for us, brother? You're on mute, Troy. You're on mute at the moment. Take your mic off mute. Yeah.
So that was a good one. You lot missed that as well. But anyway, no, listen, it was just brief, yeah? It was just be kind and work hard. That's on the front of one of my journals, and it's right. It don't need to be no more said than that. Just be kind, work hard. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much. And I guess mine would be go for it. I mean, I guess that's what sums up Black Pound Day for me. It was a time where, you know, we had the advent of the Black Square, and I felt like that didn't kind of work for us as a online initiative, as a way of combating systemic racism. And, you know, I had this idea called Black Pound Day, and I could have just kept it in the tuck. I could have kept it in my pocket, kept it at the back of my mind. It was an idea I had 12 years previous, but I knew it was something that would work. And I knew I had to walk out on the plank. I had to go out on the limb, present this idea. And if it fails, it fails. But I didn't think it would. And, you know, I put it forward, and it's obviously worked. And the first Saturday of every month, we are putting a call to action to support Black businesses, seek out Black businesses, change our spending and consumer habits for that of Black products or services as a way of combating systemic inequalities. So yeah, directing you back to my home, blackpoundday.uk. That is the website where you'll be able to spend with a Black business, seek out a Black business via our directory, or find the Black business in your local area via the Black Business Map. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists today for contributing to our audience. You know, integration doesn't happen overnight. So all of your notes and everything you've taken in, just take your time to ingest it and digest it over time, and try to implement it in your lives as quickly or slowly as you can. You know, whatever approach works for you. Do you get what I'm saying? There's no rule book for this thing. So, you know, just kind of work based on your own ideas of knowing yourself, basically. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for contributing today, our audience as well as our panelists. My name is Swiss. This has been the Black Entrepreneurs event for Black History Season. I want to thank Janelle and Emmanuel for putting this event together, and their team. Thank you so much. This is the second year. Thank you. Give a hand. This is the second year this has been running, and may it long continue. And I'd like to thank our mayor of Camden as well. Thank you very much for your introduction. And yeah, I guess that's it, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you can connect with, I think Janelle and Emmanuel will enable you to connect with people's socials after the event. And yeah, stay abreast of what Camden Council are doing going forward, and the work that Black Pound Day will be doing with Camden Council as well. Again, thank you very much. Have a good evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye.